All right, let's say that you're going to take CRP or pasture out and put it into production. We know that, hey, in the long term, it's probably going to be fine, but let's talk about year one. How do you get the best possible crop year one?
All right, so when we think about what are some of the challenges going to be, perennial weeds are one of the big ones. So if you're coming out of CRP, what weeds do you have? Have you got grasses? Have you got broadleaves? And how many perennials or biennials are out there? We're gonna have to use something strong to get those under control. Then we look at previous weed control programs and what has been used.
Right, I'm glad that you got to that because I'm not concerned about the perennials. We can deal with that. I just can't solve your carryover issues. In other words, if you've used Tordon any time in the last 10 years, Milestone any time in the last 10 years, any Cimarron or Ally in the last 10 years, you may still have a problem right now going to certain crops. You're pretty safe going to most of the grass crops, wheat or corn, but if we start talking about broadleaf crops like soybeans, sugar beets, or sunflowers, you're going to have some major challenges. So I can tell you ourselves on our farm with pasture, what we have found is with Tordon, it's almost 10 years. We will wait almost 10 years before we will plant a broadleaf crop again. So that's the first thing. Now let's get to that perennial weed issue. Okay, hey, if I've got perennials out there, just go with a strong rate of Roundup as soon as the weather warms up. That's the whole key. If your nighttime temps are still below 50, you're gonna have a tough time. And if your daytime temps are below 50, you're gonna have about an impossible time getting great control with Roundup. So use the highest labeled rate. We're talking probably 2-3 quarts of Roundup, depending on the type you're using, and hit it hard as early as possible in the spring. We want good control as early as possible to try to save as much moisture as we can, especially if you're in the Western Corn Belt.
All right, let's talk fertility just a little bit. It's very important that you soil test in these areas. And you may say, well, wait a second, maybe I'm coming out of pasture. The fertility should be perfect, right? I've left it untouched. I really haven't harvested anything. Yeah, cattle have grazed there, but they're dropping manure right behind them, so it should be all balanced. No, it's not. So make sure you take good soil tests. If you didn't get that done last fall, make sure you get it done as early as you can in the spring so you can get the results back and make the right choices in terms of fertilizing your crop.
The number one issue usually we see with guys coming out of CRP in terms of that fertility thing is not having enough nitrogen. Think about it like corn on corn, only worse. You're going to have a lot of tie-up of nitrogen, especially in year one. So make sure you have ample N. That doesn't mean you have to put it all out up front. You can certainly side dress, put some on later on in the season. That's okay. But get yourself off to a good start. Make sure you have enough N.
All right. The next thing I think about is insects. Whenever you go for a long period of time without applying insecticide or without keeping those bugs in check, they've got a great environment to thrive. So if you're planting corn, for example, we certainly recommend going with a good seed treatment that has an insecticide on it. Also, you may want to put some insecticide in the furrow.
Yep, and if it was me, I wouldn't do that. I'd use a low rate of something like Capture LFR, for example, and I'd just focus on wireworms, cutworms, all those other bugs, unless you're very concerned about grubs. So I'm talking about June beetles, maybe even Japanese beetles, anything that's gonna have a grub as the larvae stage. Hey, maybe Darren's right. You should run with that full rate.
Maybe Darren's right?
Yeah,
no, Darren's
like
absolutely right.
Darren is not absolutely right because we don't need it if we don't have grubs. We can use a lower rate of an insecticide or a cheaper insecticide and get control of all those other insects without spending a lot. Because remember, you're not going to have a rootworm issue coming out of CRP or out of pasture.
No, so I'm not recommending you run with a Smart Stacks hybrid necessarily, but I do really like that insecticide option. That's a good thing. And then be prepared post-emerge if you see something, especially early season out there, to get out and treat as quickly as possible.
Okay, one last thing. You will have the best yields if you do full tillage in year one. But the problem is now you are burning up your organic matter, you're doing damage to your soil. Is that what you want to do for the long term? So I told you we'd talk about how you get the best yields for year one, and I will tell you full-scale tillage would do it for you, okay? I'm just suggesting that's not the best answer long term. Typically when we take CRP or pasture, especially out ourselves, we're doing strip till in there. We are not doing full-scale tillage because I want to leave that good organic matter that we've now built. Let's face it, it went to pasture, it went to CRP because it wasn't your best ground. So do we really want to destroy that good organic matter we built over the last 10, 20, 30 years? I don't think so, but you certainly can.
All right, there are a lot of things to think about there with pasture and CRP, but in your crop ground as well, we need to get weeds under control. Can you identify this week's Weed of the Week?